guest on the show once named me Nasty Neal, and I thought it sounded cool, so I kept it.
You look pretty nice to me. I
Well,
don't
thank
know.
you. My friend Annabelle, who does the show with me normally, she can't be here today. She's been wanting me to change it to Sweet Neal and different ideas, but I don't think it's fitting of the show.
Or if you're going to at least do it Neal the Nasty.
Neal the Nasty. That sounds, yeah, sounds important. Yeah, sounds like I'm a knight, Knight Neal the Nasty or
Really,
something.
really.
Yeah, then we have a whole lot of alliteration there. We have three, yeah. But we're not just here to talk about my name. We could, I guess, for a half hour.
We
But
could.
yeah. All right. Well, welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I am Nasty Neal, as we've just gone over, and I'm joined by Lin Shaye, writer and star of Tripping on Life, and horror icon, and Emmy Award winner, and lots of cool stuff. Yeah.
Who are
It's
we
very
talking
nice.
about?
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So, Tripping on Life, for people not aware yet, could you give them an idea of what that is?
Yes. Tripping on Life, it's a one-woman show that I wrote unbeknownst to me almost. I mean, writing is a very interesting experience because it sort of takes over its own, sort of gets your hand going in its own, you don't even know what's happening. And we are doing it. We did it for 5 performances in Los Angeles, and it was extremely well received. It's about my life in 1968, San Francisco, and an event that happened during those times, which was 1968 was a really packed year. I just say it's a year of war, murders, riots, unrest, and but the young people of the time had their own world of sort of hippie land, which was all supposedly flowers and love. Had a lot more going on than that, but it's about my life with and meeting my husband and our experience during one particular experience in my life that changed my life forever. And I started writing it. I don't even exactly know how it all happened, to be honest. So the fact that it has flowered as the children did then into this show and had the reception it did was very exciting to me. And so we are taking it to New York. We're taking it to Theater Row off Broadway. It's going to open October 8th, which is really soon. I'm leaving for New York a week from yesterday. So I'm sort of shot out of a cannon. And here's the script right here.
Oh,
Here it
very
is,
cool,
folks.
yeah.
So I'm very excited, and I hope you'll all come. I really think it's a worthwhile hour of your time. I think what it does as well is it unearths. It seems to unearth people's own feelings in the audience, not just about whether you were here in the 60s or not. It's about an event that changes your life, and I think we've all had one, and it's interesting to revisit it.
Was there a moment, when you started to write this that brought up like a reason to write it now?
Not really, because when I wrote this, I just started writing about 10 years ago, and I had like just a few pages, and it was sort of part poetry. Like I even say at the beginning of the show, there's a recording. It's part theater, it's part poetry, it's part screenplay, it's part. I started writing it as a short film, and because I used to have it in my computer, it would say day. That was how I started out, and it just kind of kept growing. And so I really never, I never really had a plan for it. I think it's a real example of how sometimes letting your life lead you a little bit. We're all very busy trying to control everything. And we must, because there's chaos in our world right now, that kind of control. But internally, you must allow your own sense of expression to fulfill itself. And that's kind of what this was. I really didn't. So I'm going to sit down and write this thing. It's like, I'm going to write that down. I mean, it was like that. I had sentences that were on pages, and very slowly it sort of starts. It's real art. I mean, that's how you create a statue, how you create a song. It's something in you has to be expressed. And for me, it was these sentences. And so pretty soon, there was almost like a little poem. And then that sort of moved into a story. And over the last, I mean, especially over this last year where we've really refined it, it's become a wonderful hour of self-expression and an evocative story that makes the audience relive something in themselves. So it does what I hope theater always does, which there's a real transfer, and you can feel it from people. I mean, it really is, it's very exciting to perform and feel what you're getting back from the audience. People aren't just watching.
Right.
They're they're investing their own feelings in you. It's great. It's really exciting.
When did you decide, like, so you write originally, like it's maybe a short story or a short movie, and then it becomes a theater play. Like, what
That
was
sort
the
of
evolution?
here's how that happened. I mean, I had the 10 pages, and I'd show it to people every once in a while. The director, Robert Galinsky, who has just been magic for me, he does one-man shows. That's his, and he's a poet, and he's kind of like a beatnik. He reminds me of, or he's kind of got that personality. He's got a
Yeah.
great voice, great singer, great presentation, great energy, great comedy. And I've seen his show. I've gone to see his one-man show. He's a friend of my manager's, and I had shown my piece to a few people, thinking, well, could we do it as a short film? I didn't know what I was, just
Yeah.
here, look at it. What do you think? And so after I saw Robert's show, I thought, I'm going to send it to him. He read it. He picked up the phone and said, let's do it. That was how it happened. He said, keep writing. That was the first thing he said. Keep writing. Let's just fill it out. Fill out fill it out. So I kept writing. And I think literally as of yesterday, we finally have the final, the final.
Uh-huh.
Because you always put out it final. And then the next day it's like, well, I got to adjust this a little bit. So it's not really the final. But so
Yeah.
we're doing it. We're doing it. We're doing it. We did it in LA. To my surprise, everybody loved it. And I'm having the courage to sort of co-produce with my big bro. And we're gonna do it. I'm investing in myself. I've never done that ever.
So,
So what am I waiting for? I'm turning
yeah.
111.
So how much different is the one that's going to be in New York to the one that you did in Hollywood?
Not very different, almost exactly the same. Bare bones. It's bare bones. There's no tricks. It's just me, lighting, sound, and the story, and you.
See, so earlier this year, it was around my birthday. Chaz Palminteri. So he did, for people who don't know, Bronx Tale, which I love, and originally it was a one-man play,
Right.
and he brought it back for a short, just little run, and it happened to play in Boston. My friend Annabelle got us tickets, and so he went back to the original way he did it. Which it was just him and like a chair, and as you're saying, what you're saying was there it was very. You're into it, and it's very emotional. In a weird way, it's more emotional than watching a movie.
I agree. I mean, because I'm taking I'm taking you on the trip with me. I mean, you're coming with me. And what I started discovering is, as Robert kept encouraging me, now I play all the characters. So I'm reading you a story. It's like reading a bedtime story in a weird way. And I don't read it like this, but
Right.
this is a device in the script. I mean, in the story. This is because I say this is it right here, and I use it. I use this as a prop almost. And but I also I act out all the characters. So I'm my mother, I'm my father, I'm my brother, I'm the cops, I'm me, I'm Jim, the performance artist. I'm the heroin addict, Ralph. So I play all the different characters as well, and it seems to be it is entertaining. It entertains me when I do it. So I know that sounds maybe a little narcissistic, but I know it's really funny and really emotional. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
What
How,
can I say?
uh,
I think it's really an hour of wonderful entertainment that will evoke those feelings from you about your life, not my life, but it's
mhm.
going to make you remember your moments that you had. And it's about one seminal moment that changed my life, which I'm sure
Yeah, and
you
I don't.
too.
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but doing research on you, I assume I know what that moment is, and the motorcycle on stage is a big part of that.
Of course, the motorcycle is my only other partner on stage.
Mm-hmm. How physically like demanding is it? Is it just you, live? There's no intermission or anything.
I'll let you know after the run in New York.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, because I've actually thought about that.
Yeah.
It runs 1 hour. So, and I don't have, I let the story unfold each night in me differently, and it does unfold every night. And there's certain parts that become different. It's never the same, is what, guess what I'm trying to say. And I'm leaving that because that keeps it alive, and it keeps it alive for me, and it keeps it alive for the audience. There's also a give and take with the audience, which is very special about live theater. It's not, you're not, I'm feeling you, I'm feeling what you are feeling. And that, that nourishes me to give you what, to even shift what I'm, how I'm doing what I'm doing. So it's a very living piece. It's a very organic, I hate to use that word, but it's
Yeah.
a very organic piece. It unfolds differently every single time I've done it. And I assume it will always, that that's just part of the nature of the story.
Now, did you have a background in theater acting before you went into film and TV?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I started out in theater. I never thought about movies, ever. Never,
Mm.
ever, ever entered my mind. I was just the gentleman I spoke to before, we were talking about how I started, how I got into theater. And I realized it was in my bedroom when I was about 5 years old, because I used to play with I had a lot of time by myself because there were not a lot of kids in the neighborhood. And I would make up stories with my animals and characters, and I would do voices. And Sleepyhead was not a very nice girl all the time, and they had bad thoughts. No, not really.
Yeah.
Sleepyhead was actually pretty good, but I mean, I would make up stories and I would play all the characters, and I guess that's either, I don't know if that's where you become talented or if you already have. I think every child has that though, and I
Mm.
think it's just how you. I was lucky I had a mother and father. They didn't indulge that, but they didn't, they just let me make up plays all over the house. I mean, I would plant notes. My girlfriend and I would act different characters. It was really pretty great and creative. We were like 9, 10 years old, and we
Yeah.
would have a whole cast of characters, in the house. And my father would let us plant notes on him because we'd have a treasure. So my father would have a note in his shoe, like,
Right.
so I was encouraged to use my imagination and that wonderful child energy that if you are lucky enough to have parents that nurture it instead of squash it, can flower into anything. So here I am, folks. This is
Yeah.
the product.
Well, was it hard to change your acting style from, or how different is it from theater? For one thing, like you said, you're in front of the people and you're feeling them, as opposed to on camera, and you don't know what they think, I guess, till months later when it comes out.
It's a whole different process. I think partly because what I've discovered is working on a film, you don't really know, even when you read the script and then you'll shoot a scene, and the scene doesn't go like you thought. It goes differently, not better or worse, just different.
Right.
And then what I've discovered is everything I've thought about or planned by reading the story is it has to be adjusted, because usually you do, often you'll shoot the last scene of the movie first. And what happens if it ends different than you thought? So there's a constant reworking, I think, of character, at least for me personally. I can't speak for any other actor, but that there's a constant reworking of the character, based on what you lay down on each scene. And in a play, it's one continuum.
Mm-hmm.
So it may start out differently, and you also have to adjust everything, but you have one chance to do that. And the next night may be totally different. So it's a really living theater. Is the life of doing a play is very different than creating a film.
Yeah,
Um, Very
and for the
exciting.
audience, they have to be there to see it because
Yes,
it
you have to come.
happens and then it's gone.
So can we tell when it is?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
September 8th through the
starts
October
September.
8th.
Right, first preview September 8th. It runs through October 8th. It's at Theater Row, which is 410 West 42nd Street, and you can get your tickets at trippingonlifetheplay.com. And tripping on life the play is one word. There's no period, no caps, no nothing, just trippingonlifetheplay.com.
Yeah, and
And
I'll have the link right here. They can click on
you can click on it.
it.
But
uh,
as you can hear, I'm very excited
yeah,
about it, and it's a very, very unique experience for me too. So I do hope you'll come and experience your own moments together.
And what was the experience for you writing this? I don't know. Is this this particular part in your life? Is it something that you've talked with people a lot, like outside of this, or is this like really the first time you really got into it?
That's a great question. A lot of people know about this event, but it's not something so it's not like something I've never discussed.
Mm-hmm.
But and I do take some poetic license in terms of building story and the character. I say it's mostly true. I mean, there are a few things I've embellished for comedy, but that's pretty much the only place. The other events all really happened, and I don't talk about it in detail. I think people know the big event, which is what this is built around.
Yeah.
However, as I started writing it, it's built around that event, but it expanded into much more than that. It expanded into my growth as a woman, and the people who made that, who helped and tried to not make that happen. But and it was a very unique time, and we were all on drugs. I mean, everybody, we were. That's what I say. We weren't stupid. We were stoned. They say that in the beginning. There's a little broadcast, a recording at the beginning that talks about the '60s and what that was. But it's true. We learned a lot of stuff about self-expression, and we were coming out of the '50s, which was very regimented. You had to stand a certain way. Girls had to be girls. Well, we don't have to be anymore. We can be whatever we want.
Right.
But so and during the '60s, it was the cracking open of that coconut. It was just letting all the good juice out of how you really felt about things. A very important part of our culture, I think.
Mm-hmm. And doing the play, I know you're going to be doing more of them now, but you did 5 weeks before. Talking about every night on stage, what has that been like for you? Is that been I don't know, a good thing? Like, talking about this. How does that make you feel, like revisiting this part of your life?
It's very fun. It's very exciting, very scary, a lot of adrenaline, a very unique experience. I had forgotten that moment backstage where you hear the audience come in is just thrilling. It's a real communication in a way you get to have in real life, really. I mean, you've got 100 people who are ready to listen to you, and you're ready to take back from them. So I love it. I mean, I love the theater.
So, from what I understand, there's not a lot of theater in L.A. in California, but New York is like the heart
Right.
of the theater.
Yeah, and we did it here. It was part of the Fringe Festival, it's called, which is a theater festival. And our timing was dead on. I didn't aim for that at all. We just had it ready to go. And so we registered for the festival. And that's why we were given 5 performances here. And otherwise, we were going to we probably would have just done it a couple times. This probably wouldn't have happened. So thank you all.
Yeah, I saw my first live musical in Long Beach when I was a kid.
Yeah, the Long Beach they have that one, I don't know what they call it, but one very nice theater there. And there's just very little theater in LA. There's very little small, there's the Taper, and Santa Monica Playhouse has stuff occasionally, but it's not, it's a handful. And even the small theaters, they don't really get much attention. So I'm happy to be coming.
Little Shop of Horrors with Dom DeLuise actually played Mr. Mushnick. It was very fun time.
Yeah.
So you said the reception's been great so far. The first night you do it, like, what's the feeling? Because it's the first time doing this in front of people.
I can't really. There's an old shoe part of it, which is something. I mean, I started out doing theater years ago, so there's something about it that's very familiar and very settling almost, and very exciting. I mean, there's a lot of adrenaline. So that's all. It's just looking forward to doing to being in the moment, as they say. You can't. That's always in film as well. That's only the one scary thing is suddenly you just are somewhere else. You got words coming out of your mouth, but you're nowhere nearby. And that's a classic thing that happens, I think, in general with people. attention and energy, and your own personal energy and what's going on around you all affects you. So if you have a full house, it's very exciting. I've done a show for 2 people in my lifetime on a snowy day in New York City, a little at the Playbox Theater,
Uh,
which was, I don't even play, it was way in the East Village. And I can't remember the name of the play, but I remember trucking to the theater on the bus to get there, and 2 people. We did
I,
it. We did the show.
yeah, I was to say there's something to be said. I think about it like a small, intimate audience where you can connect, but I think 2 people might be, as a difference.
It was,
Yeah.
but you know what? We had a really good show.
Uh-huh.
So there you have it. I'm
Yeah,
having a little.
and they probably have a great memory. Yeah. So you said your big bro, Rob. Have you guys always been close?
Yes, we have always had. We have a classic sister brother relationship, I guess. I'm 4.5 years younger than Bob, and he was my hero. And I always wanted to know what was in the top drawer of his desk that was locked.
Have you ever found out? Yeah, I don't know.
I actually did. I was very disappointed
Alright.
with the stamp collection and some old coins. I thought I was going to find sexy pictures of something. And Bob has been, when I say classic, he has defended me to the nth at different times, which I didn't even really know about in terms of, I mean, nothing terrible had happened or anything, but he's always remained on my side, and but pretended he didn't. Pretended he wasn't often. He was, get your own thing. I got my first start in movies because of Bob. He told Wes Craven to put me in his movie. And I'd done little tiny things up to then, but not anything particular. And I remember got another actress fired because he wanted me to do the role, and he never told me that, but I got this role in a movie, and I was really excited about it. Well, I didn't know what went on behind the scenes, that Bob had told the director, my sister's playing that part, get rid of her, get rid of this other. So I don't know the name of the other actress.
Right. If you're out there, you can, yeah.
So those, we had a very close family, and a typical, we were volatile in many ways, but it was a real classic family with, classic issues and growing pains, etc. But I loved my family. I love my family still. My parents.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. And were your parents were they artists, or were they storytellers or anything? Because you became storytellers.
Yes, not professionally. My father was in the wholesale food business and also was a lawyer. My mother was just a housewife, but my father used to tell me Candyland stories every night before I went to bed, which are also in my script.
Oh, very cool.
A very important part of my growing up. And it was about always about a little girl named Linda just getting ready to fall asleep, and she'd hear a tap, tap, tap on her window, and the little horse was going to come and take her to Candyland. So that's pretty stimulating for your imagination, for a little girl getting ready to go to sleep. And so he was a good story, and he became a very, very wonderful painter when he was in his 50s. He was just, again, a grocer, by profession and stuff. And I've got at least a dozen of his paintings in my house. I mean, they're just beautiful. And he became quite well known in Michigan. We lived in Detroit, and he became a pretty well known Michigan artist, and was very good at self-promotion, which I've learned to do and is very important. Don't ever be afraid to tell people how good you are at something without being arrogant. But
Right.
People want to know what you can do. And I look terrible.
Oh no, you look fine.
I'm just saying. Wait, what happened? I'm getting ready to go to New York, so my focus is not on beauty yet. But anyway, so I think both of my parents were very talented people in whatever they decided to do, because they were also go-getters. Nothing stopped them. My mother.
I think what you just said there is important though too, is the difference between having an ego, and you have to be confident to That's
Exactly.
success in some
Yeah,
type
you
of
can't
way.
be a bully. A bully is bullshit. Ooh, I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
But it is. I mean, it's that's just unappealing and doesn't get you anywhere. People hate you. They hate bully. It's they're awful, and it doesn't really get you forward. But having finesse and knowing what you want and being respectful and ambitious, um, and sort of fearless. That word courage is really a big one. You know, I mean, I'm an actress because I just was forward. I wrote letters to everybody. I wrote Dear Mr. Nicholson. My first movie was one line in Going South with Jack Nicholson because I wrote him a letter. And he's that
Really,
guy.
that
And he said, yeah, okay, come in and meet me. And I did. I mean, it was a great story, actually. But no one, I didn't use any connections in the beginning at all. I mean, I had the good fortune that my brother was starting a film company, and gave me opportunity. But that wasn't what I was relying on. Do what you love and love what you do.
that's good advice. And what advice would you give to someone who wants to pursue whatever it is?
What? I'm sorry.
What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to pursue either acting or
That
whatever it is they want to
just
do?
start call people and make lists. Be general. You've got to make it happen. Can't sit around and wait for other people to hire you. Really, I mean, you got to be very proactive about your life. Period. Whatever you do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good things happen without you doing them, but
Right.
making them happen. But it's more often they happen when you get the fire, start the fire.
And were you and Bob both horror fans as kids?
I wasn't. Um,
Interview's over. No,
the interview's over.
no, I was just kidding. I was just because I said you said you weren't a horror fan as a kid, so I was just.
No, I wasn't though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not. I'm not a horror fan like you're talking about.
Right.
Again, my emphasis is story,
Mm-hmm.
and Bob, I think, was more interested in it than I was, but just mildly was like I remember him giving me scary comic books to read.
Like EC Comics.
Yeah, there were some really scary ones. I remember there was one about a face melting into a skull, and the images were really scary to me. But that was But I know, no, I mean, I love doing. Again, I love good stories. But when you think about it, all the roles I've done, I've never really done any scary roles. I've been in scary movies.
That's actually very, yeah. Now that I'm trying to think in my mind, but yeah, that makes sense.
I mean,
that's probably a better person to have then, because then you could interact with the scary stuff more believably.
Yeah, so, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it. So, Tripping on Life, the name itself. How did you come up with the name?
Well, I think in the '60s, it was a part of my life that was a stumbling block. And it sort of all came together. It was my idea. I mean, it was I thought of the name. And I think it's a good name. I think it says exactly what I want about the story.
Yeah, no, I think it's perfect. And you mentioned, drugs. And obviously in the 60s, that's one of the things I think most people think that the story is going to be about. So that's in there. Was there anything that you had in the story that anyone, tried to talk you out of, including?
No. Robert Galinsky, who's my director and who I adore, and who's the one who, I mean, it's because of him I'm doing the show. He occasionally will question something or ask me a question about why is that in there or should you add, but it's usually about words or expression of something. It's not so much about content.
Mm.
The content was all pretty much, was all me, really. I mean, I really wrote it myself. I didn't have a partner writing it or anything. So just small changes as we went along, but that was it.
So Tripping on Life, theplay.com. Go there and get your tickets starting September 8th through October 8th. And
Yep.
I'm really excited about it myself. And not just because you're here. It sounds like something I'm going to enjoy. I know I've got horror stuff behind me, but I myself like all different stories.
Well, this is scary in a different kind of way. Let me put it that way. It's a pleasure to talk to you, Neal the Nasty.
You as well. I need a cool L word for next time I talk to you. We'll think of something. Thank you, and success with the play.
Thank you. I hope you'll come. Stop by after for sure.
Yeah. I'm in Massachusetts, so not too far.
Oh, I wish you will come to New York. What the hell?
Yeah. It's not that far.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you again, Neal.
Thank you.
Bye.
Don't you run too far. This is who you are. Can you rip the chain? Oh, you, hey. Crawling through the bones, falling from your throne, crown upon your skull.